Well, it seems like there is some drama within the Trump family that is really bad news for Donald Trump. You know, all of these Trump family members try to paint themselves as the perfect family. They all love each other. They're all 100% behind Donald Trump. They love the MAGA movement, and they're ready for 4 more years in the White House. Except that's not quite the case, because according to some new reporting from Axios, Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife, is not on board. And if Trump were to win again in 2024, God forbid, she wouldn't be coming to Washington, D.C. with him. She would not be living in the White House with him. Instead, she'd be spending time in other places, in New York City and Florida, basically where Donald Trump isn't. And I can't really blame her. I also wouldn't want to be married to and around and associated with a convicted felon, a proven sexual abuser, a proven fraudster. So I see her side. But, maybe, hopefully, she's had an epiphany and realized how awful of a person Donald Trump is, but I'm not holding my breath. There might be some other reason as to why this is taking place, but it seems like Melania Trump is not on board. So as I mentioned, this reporting is from Axios, and the headline of the article is Melania Trump might not return to D.C. full-time for a second Trump term. Interesting. She's not interested in coming back to our capital, to the White House with Donald Trump. And as I said just a moment ago, couldn't blame her. I wouldn't want to be near Donald Trump either. But the article goes on to say, unlike the Obamas and Bidens, the Trumps largely avoided jaunts into hometown Washington. Melania was so atypically reclusive for a first lady that a long-running whisper campaign questioned whether she lived at the White House or with her parents in the burbs. So the prospect of her rolling in for a second full-time stint in the East Wing, doubtful, according to the handful of Melaniaologists Axios surveyed. So it appears that they have sources close to Melania Trump and her team, and of course Donald Trump. And, I don't think that for a possible second Trump term, she'd be coming back. I think we could have guessed that without the insider information the first time around. She was barely at the White House, and as the article talked about, she was very reclusive. She didn't really do much as first lady. You had Michelle Obama, who was so fantastic. She was traveling around the country, starting all these initiatives, speaking to people, doing all this amazing stuff as first lady. You have Dr. Jill Biden as first lady as well, who has been a teacher throughout the entire time that Joe has been president. She has also been traveling around the country, having meetings with people. She was actually just speaking on behalf of President Biden's campaign in Pennsylvania the other day, talking about reproductive rights, which is so impressive, so amazing. She was firing people up. Melania Trump, not so much. Not really part of that club of first ladies who were out there doing things like that. We've had some pretty terrific first ladies in history. I'm not sure I'd put Melania Trump in that category. But the article continues saying, more likely, that she would be jetting between Palm Beach, where she spent the past 4 years, and New York, where tongues are wagging that Barron might be attending NYU, coming to the White House only for ceremonial undertakings like state dinners or special events. This is just really funny to me because the Republicans try to tell us that they're the party of family values, right? That Donald Trump's a family man, that he cares about his family, except his own wife doesn't really want to be near him, and he's cheated on virtually every wife he's had. Not virtually, literally every wife he's had, he's been unfaithful to. So the party of family values is telling us that they are preaching that mentality, that they care about the family and whatnot. And then, the guy that's at the top of the ticket, Donald Trump, is having stuff like this taking place, And there's some more reporting in this article that's pretty important. It goes on to say, since leaving the East Wing in 2021, Melania's sightings remain scarce. She was absent from the courtroom as the Stormy Daniels hush money saga ended with Trump's conviction, and she's mostly been AWOL during his campaign. Quote, she's distancing herself even more from her husband and from the Washington social political scene, says Kate Anderson Brower, who's written several books about the White House and first ladies. Quote, she's clearly hated being in Washington. Now, that first point about Donald Trump's trial is incredibly interesting because during this trial, all of these random Republicans showed up. You had Mike Johnson, Byron Donalds, all these Republican senators and representatives who came and spoke outside the courtroom, calling it a sham and all this stuff. They showed up for Donald Trump, but not Melania. It's just an interesting thing that the public noticed. And even Trump's children, like we saw Eric and Donald Trump Jr. there, they showed up and they did their own little rant. They did their song and dance outside of the courtroom. But again, Melania never showed. So it's quite the interesting dynamic that all these randomers, these random Republicans who are not connected to this trial at all, they showed up, but Melania didn't. Now, of course, this is something that the public has taken notice of, right? We've all seen it. It's been talked about, and Donald Trump has had to respond to it. So, again, according to the article, Team Trump, meanwhile, has been promising more Melania moments. When the former president was asked about his wife's absence from the campaign trail in February, Trump acknowledged her private nature, but said she was invested. Quote, "She wants to see this country really succeed. She loves this country." The following month, though, when asked if we could expect to see more Melania, her answer was totally, well, Melania, stay tuned. So, I don't know. I think that actions speak louder than words when it comes to this stuff, and Melania's action of not being there at Donald Trump's trial at all, not a single day of it, I think speaks pretty loudly. I think it speaks to the fact that there's something going on there. There's just a divide that I think we've known about for some time now. As you know, the article talked about, Melania didn't really spend much time with Donald Trump the first go around. It'd probably be even less. But there's just something not right there. And while Trump is telling us that, oh, the family's so perfect and they love each other and the family's fully behind him with his convictions and the civil cases, I don't quite buy it. And we already had some interesting Melania Trump moments in the first term with Trump in 2016, and I should say starting in 2017, ending in 2021. Like, do you remember that clip after the presidential debate in 2020 where Trump tried to grab Melania's hand and she shook him? She dropped his hand and didn't really want to hold his hand. Take a look at that clip right here. Yeah, they had the slow motion and all, the zoom in. Golly, I mean, that pretty self-explanatory as to what happened there. She wasn't interested in holding his hand. And we had more moments like this. Take a look at this clip of Trump, Melania, and Barron departing a plane, and Trump tries to grab Melania's hand, and she just would not do it. She completely rejects him. Take a look. Yeah, so once again, pretty self-explanatory. Melania Trump was just not interested in holding Donald Trump's hand. She's kind of like, get away from me. Don't do that. I gotta say, I said this earlier in the video, but I just think that this dynamic and this new reporting we heard is so interesting because Donald Trump and all of the Republicans love to attack other people's families in the name of family values. Right? They'll attack LGBTQ plus families, interracial families, all these different families that don't look like theirs or not, the ideal family in their minds. In the name of family values. They'll do this in the name of family values, right? But then Donald Trump's own family doesn't like him. His own wife is not interested in being associated with him, his convicted felonies, his trials, his civil cases, all this stuff. She's not interested in being there. She didn't show up for his criminal trial. And if Donald Trump were to win, again, God forbid, she's not going to the White House with him. She's not interested in a second Trump term. She's not interested in being near him and associating with him. Instead, she'll be in different parts of the country. So it's just ironic how Republicans love to attack other people's families, especially LGBTQ plus families, when Trump's own wife is like, stay away from me. Don't come near me. So it's just interesting. It's the ultimate hypocrisy and the ultimate projection onto people who just want to be happy. So I just think that dynamic in the context of this story is just very fascinating. So anyway, that's what's going on. It's the worst possible time for Melania and Donald to have a rift. We're well into the presidential campaign, and she's just not showing up. She's not showing up to his trials. And on the other side of the aisle, you have President Biden and Dr. First Lady Jill Biden all around the country talking about very important issues, doing a lot of things, working hard for us. The dynamic is pretty clear. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that based on this new reporting. It's fascinating. So we'll have to see what happens with all this. So thank you so much for being here. I'll wrap up the video now. Make sure to subscribe down below. It really goes such an incredibly long way. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. And look, as I always say, I appreciate you and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.